Hello and welcome to this video about the Mia Skadhauge Stevn case. This will be a short video because most of the day in court today we spent documenting the findings in the case, but there was the psychologist evaluation of the defendant, and I thought I would just summarize what they found because it's kind of interesting. But for those of you who maybe are new, just jumping into the stream, welcome. But this is about a 22-year-old nurse student who disappeared in the early mornings after a night out in town. And if we look at a map, we can see this is in Aalborg. It's in the northern part of Denmark. Mia had been out celebrating that the lockdowns had ended. At around 6 in the morning, she's picked up by a dark car, and the defendant in this case has a car like that, and they have surveillance videos showing it was his car. The police also have all of his GPS data, so they know exactly where they drove that night. And again, if you haven't seen the other videos, in short, a short way, this case is about a man who picks up a girl, says she wants to have sex with him, goes into a wooden area where she, according to him, falls, snaps her neck, or gets strangled in her purse string. When she stops responding to him, he drives her up to his house. In the house, he decides that the best way to handle this problem is to cut her up in 231 pieces at least. They have only found 231 pieces. That's not all of the body. They haven't found everything. Afterwards, he spreads the body parts in this wood. Some of it he digs down, and some of it he just throws on the ground. He douses the body parts in chemicals, so it has been hard to find evidence on the body. The defendant is charged with three separate counts. One is the sexual assault on Mia. We haven't really heard anything in this case about the sexual assault, so I don't know if he will be found guilty in that part. The second part is the strangulation of Mia. He said that she snapped her neck or choked on her purse string. The doctor who examined the body said that doesn't make any sense. All the evidence points to a strangulation, that he strangled her, and it wasn't a quick death, between 4 to 5 minutes, according to the evidence. So his explanation of what happened doesn't add up with the technical findings on the body and out in the wood where he says she fell and broke her neck. The last part of the charges are indecent handling of a corpse. He has pled guilty to that part. And again, the police know exactly where he drove this night because they have his GPS data. But today in court, most of it was just documenting what they have been talking about the other 5 days in court. They showed some pictures of his car driving around in the city all night, stopping when Mia left the street where all the bars are in Aalborg. You can see his car do a U-turn, and he goes and picks her up at a nearby bus stop. And after that, something happened. They have also talked about his previous criminal records. He has some older cases. One of them is cutting the brake lines of his ex-girlfriend's mother's car. The ex-girlfriend used the car at that time, so he was found guilty in that, and he was found guilty in stalking because he was seen outside a window and he left DNA traces, semen, on the window. So those were the two prior convictions that we have brought up in this case today. But today, the most important part is the psych eval. It's in Denmark. If you have a case which could land you in prison for such a long time, and in most cases, you'll be tested to see how you are. You'll be asked about your upbringing and stuff like that to see if there's anything that could make it possible to give you a lesser sentence, or maybe you have to go to an institution because you maybe are too sick to be charged and convicted in a normal way. But He was found normal in the sense of the law. They couldn't recommend any treatments for him, so he will be, if he's convicted, will be convicted as a normal person. But the findings in this examination were different. He was interviewed by two persons. One was a woman, one was a man. When the man was on, he was not very talkative. He answered, he cooperated, but whenever it was the woman, he was very interested. He wanted to talk. He wanted to play himself up and talk about the time when he was a sergeant in the military, and he seemed like he wanted to impress the woman. He was asked about his love life, and he said he hadn't had a girlfriend for 7 to 8 years, but he was interested in women. He didn't have a bad upbringing, normal upbringing. He talked a lot about his grandparents when he was asked, and then he had a a story about himself as being a very helpful and very caring person, but the interview showed a different picture of him. They said that he was only caring about himself. When he cried, it was just because he was in a bad situation, and he would go from crying to making jokes in a split second and then go back to crying. But it had nothing to do with what he had done to Mia. Remember, he has admitted that he cut her in at least 231 pieces. He showed no remorse, he showed no care, he only showed self pity. So they found that he could be showing signs of narcissism and dissocial behavior. So he has no empathy. He doesn't care for anybody else but himself, and that was what this interview showed. So his own self-image was he's such a good guy, and he was great. He helped everybody. He was a nice person. But when uh, when they interviewed him, they found that that was just a facade. He was a narcissist and dissocial. That was the important part of the day today. They did talk about, they examined his PC and found out that he had folders of other women on the phone, not anyone connected to this case, but he apparently drove around, took pictures of girls, and kept a lot of folders on his PC about these girls, and gave them kind of strange names about lurking on the women. So he seems to be a guy who has some problems with women, but again, the examination showed a narcissistic and dissocial behavior. Nothing about anything attacking women or anything in his past other than the break lines being caught. So it will be interesting to see the closing arguments, and finally, when the verdict comes, it will be in the end of the month. But today, nothing much in the case other than the psychologist saying this person has a normal intelligence. He doesn't have any cognitive difficulties, so he can be tried and he can be sent to prison like a normal person. It's not necessary to send him to some kind of psych ward to get treatments. That was everything today. A shorter video because there wasn't anything really exciting other than a lot of documentation and then this psych eval of the person. But thank you for watching, and if you haven't done already, please subscribe. It helps my channel, and I will see you in another video.